Like, let's talk about obviously your famous 1999 shoot down. If you can talk us through that day for our viewers, that'd be great, and how you came out of that and progressed in your career.
Yeah, well, no self-respecting fighter pilot, jumps on a podcast and brags about getting shot down, right? It
Of
was
course.
right. So I would say I share that I brilliantly maneuvered my F-16 into an enemy missile. Um, it was interesting. About 2 weeks before the shoot down, I had been flying a mission on my way. I was on my way back into Aviano Air Base. We were navigating around thunderstorms, and I thought we were well clear of them when I got hit by lightning. And luckily the lightning hit the wingtip, exited out at the back end, didn't cause any serious damage. I had live munitions on board, but nothing there. What was interesting though, it was a loud flash, huge explosion. Cockpit lit up bright white, and then of course you get into the damage assessment and taking the aircraft and making sure you can safely get it on the ground. Turned out that was not a bad prelude to getting hit by a enemy missile because it was a loud explosion, a big white flash in the cockpit, and very similar. The difference was when I started doing my damage assessment, became clear fairly soon that the engine had been taken out, which is not a good thing in a single engine airplane. So the airplane was going to hit the ground. The question was whether I was going to be in it. And it's a funny thing too that you sometimes military training that we get for certain scenarios is parked in our brains and compartmentalized, and we just keep it there to call forward when we need it. So I went through survival, evasion. I went through all this training in 1979 at the Air Force Academy, and I was shot down in 1999. So here I am 20 years later, right? And I'm in the chute. Seats work perfectly, which I thank my crew chiefs and industry for all the work they did on that. Because it is 1,000 unrelated miracles that happens in about 7 seconds, and anything could go wrong, and everything worked perfectly for me. And the training came right back. So it's like I was right there, either at Fort Benning with the black hats telling me to feet and knees together, don't look down, right on my parachute landing fall, or going through the sequence of getting ready for the parachute landing fall, and then what I had to do next. Luckily, I landed in a nice, reasonably plowed field, had a good parachute landing fall, and then grabbed all my gear and ran to the tree line, and then started getting set up for the rescue. And I had seen some high terrain after I steered the aircraft away from any villages that were below, and so I was going to make my way up to high terrain for the rescue itself. And the enemy was out in force that night.
Really?
They knew an aircraft had gone down, and they always start at the crash site and start working their way outwards from there. I ended up getting very close to a few Serbian soldiers who were out looking for me, but
Wow.
by the grace of God, I was able to meld into the ravine in the high grass, and eventually got picked up. And the folks that picked me up, they're incredibly courageous young men, because we didn't have women in special ops back then. That's been since changed, which I'm glad. And these young guys, they risked everything as the sun was about to come up. Enemies out in force, and they were not going home until they brought me with them. And so, I'm sitting here today as a proud father and grandfather of 5.
Absolutely.
Because of them. And they get a bottle of scotch every year on the anniversary of the rescue. And as you might imagine, they're praying I live a long and healthy life.
Absolutely, yeah. But one question I've got here, Dave, is so obviously you eject, and if you need a crash site, do you get told to bring everything you can, or do you just are you told to just leave your helmet, leave everything, or do you have to take certain things so the enemy, as it were, don't have any like intel or anything.
Take what you need,
Right. Okay.
especially if you need to travel. So I buried uh, most all my gear in the ravine,
Hmm.
the bottom, and just sort of, when I say buried, covered it with leaves and brush and what have you. So just, more than anything, something that wouldn't highlight if somebody's, shining a flashlight or whatever. And I took just my survival kit and my radio gear, what I had in my vest, combat vest, and that's all I took with me.
And so when you were, I'm guessing you rushed back to medical as well. Were you, was that adrenaline still pumping then, or was it just kind of a relief when you got on that helicopter?
It was pretty steady throughout,
Right.
honestly, because I was very confident. I can say that now. It's probably easier for viewers to say, "Oh yeah, right." Now he's pretty confident he was going to get out. But honestly,
Mhm.
while I was there, I can tell you, I was very confident I was getting out that night. And if not that night, if the sun came up, I felt like I had enough cover that I could hide and
Right.
evade, for long enough to be able to get out the next night, right? So
Hmm.
I was really preserving battery power in my radio, water, other things that I think I needed in case I needed to be there for a longer period of time. Uh, I had a little bit of shrapnel wounds on my right hand from when the explosion hit, and there was a doc on the C-130 that was with me as I was flying back, and I wasn't really paying much attention. I'm right-handed, so he's bandaging up, stitching up, and bandaging up my right hand while I'm writing down notes with my left hand because I know I'm going to be debriefed,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Excel debrief, and I want to make sure I got my thoughts clear when I get home.
Yeah.
And then I look over to my right hand. He's got this thing wrapped from fingers to
Wow.
elbow and shoulder, right, with ace bandage and everything. And I looked at him and I said, "Hey doc, I, I mean, you got like just a couple of band-aids, you know?" He
Yeah.
said, he said, "Yeah, I guess I probably a little overdid it. You're my only patient." I said, "Yeah, let's do a couple band-aids." So he unwrapped everything, a couple of band-aids. Helpful because I got to fly. I flew the next night.
That's incredible. And I believe the tail from that F-16, and is it the canopy as well? Is in a museum somewhere?
Yeah, I've never had a chance to go to the museum.
Oh,
People have
right.
asked me if I've gone into it, but it's basically all the gear that I had, I think, is on display in Belgrade. I used to joke with the lieutenants at Aviano and my squadron. They have a group in most squadrons called the LPA, which stands for Lieutenants Protection Association, and
Okay.
it's for all lieutenants to you know work together to conspire against the commander, and 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 have fun, and be part of the spirit of the squadron. And I used to joke with them and say, "Hey, it's time for a spirit mission to Belgrade, don't you think? I mean, it's not theirs. Grab a van, go get that stuff."
Mm.
Uh, Luckily, they knew I wasn't serious, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think it's all. Yeah, I think it's all on display there. Someday I'll make it in.
Yeah. And you said you went flying. Did you say the next day after
Hmm.
that incident? Would that happen now? Would that be, or was that just like, I'm ready to go? Is it up to you? Or do they, like, how does that work? Because I'm sure, like, you must have needed bed rest.
Um, so I, talked to my wing commander when I landed Fig Leaf, and I said, "Hey, I don't know if you've had a chance to think about this. I spent some time thinking about it. I'm not a young captain who just got shot down. I'm a squadron commander, and I need to get
Mm.
my squadron back on the horse. Make sure they know that there's
Mhm.
nothing. Hey, no big deal. You know, things happen. Right? It's combat. Back on the horse." And so I said, I need to get back in the air. And so I'd like to get home, get some rest, and go back and fly tonight. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, if it's okay with," he looked at my wife, Dawn. He said, "If it's okay with her, it's okay with me."
Right, there
So,
you go.
Dawn, being just so great, she said, "Yep, I get it. You got to get back on the horse." My oldest daughter, was struggling a little bit with this whole daddy got shot down, right?
Okay.
And, flying combat missions from home was very unique. That was not in the squadron commander handbook, right? My entire experience up to that point had been deploying forward away from the family
Mhm.
to to fly combat missions. But now you go out, you get shot at, you come home, you mow the grass. You go out, you get shot at, you come home, you take care of the kids. It was a bit odd, to be honest. But
Yeah,
Dawn and our daughters were there, and my oldest daughter was struggling a little bit. So I thought, you know, all right, where's my highest priority here? I got to get back in the air. I really need to do that tonight. I also need to make sure my daughter's okay. So I decided I'm taking a night to make sure she's fine. So I
brilliant.
spent that night, made sure that the kids were fine, Dom was fine, everything was good. And then I got back in the air the next night and flew every night after that.